Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome to our 203rd episode. 2025 is in full effect. Time does fly. 5 years on the air over here at 710 WOR. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you so much for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please do continue to follow us at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And also remember that all episodes of A Moment of Zen stream 24/7 on your home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide. And you can always find us directly on our YouTube channel at Zen Sams. In the Polished Beauty segment, alongside my contributor, Dr. Daisy Ayim, who's a triple board certified cosmetic surgeon and OBGYN, we're chatting menopause, metabolism, and muscle, the science of aging gracefully. And joining us to break down the science behind muscle retention, fat loss, and the hormonal shifts that impact our bodies during menopause is a true expert in the field, Dr. Bill Campbell, a professor and director of the Performance and Physique Enhancement Laboratory at the University of South Florida. In the Once Upon a Coconut Hydration with Heart segment, amassing close to 1 million followers and going viral with their breathtaking harmonies and undeniable charisma. We're going to meet Menno Reyntjes, who has spent over 30 years in the music industry writing, composing, and singing his way to over 300 million streams. His daughter, Lana Melody, at just 8 years old, was a finalist on The Voice Kids, and now at 9, she's the official singing voice of Ariel in Germany's Disney's The Little Mermaid. Today, we're diving into their journey, their music, and what it's like to share the spotlight as a family. In our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift, in our Expert on the Microphone series, today we're joined by board-certified plastic surgeon, Dr. Ivana Persek. She is an associate director of cosmetic surgery and assistant professor of surgery at Penn Medicine. Her love of science, art, and working with her hands naturally dovetailed into a career in plastic surgery, sculpting people's faces and bodies where she has excelled for over a decade. She's going to join me today to discuss how she's transforming people's lives from aesthetic facial procedures to reconstruction. Stay tuned for the incredible singing duo Lana and Menno coming up next in the Hydration with Heart segment. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Once Upon a Coconut segment, Hydration with Heart. Today, we have a duo that is melting hearts around the world, literally. Imagine sharing your passion with your child and watching that bond turn into something the world can't get enough of. That's exactly what happened with our next guests. Menno Reyntjes has spent over 30 years in the music industry, writing, composing, and singing his way to over 300 million streams. He's been signed to some of the biggest record labels in the world, Sony Music, Universal, Warner, that's just to name a few. But as impressive as his resume is, his greatest duet partner might just be his 9-year-old daughter, Lana Melody. Lana is not just a rising star, she's already a global sensation. At just 7 years old, she dropped her first song on the Spotify and ranked up 15 million streams before most kids even learn their timetables. Wow. By 8, she was a finalist on The Voice Kids, and now at 9, she's the official singing voice of Ariel in Germany's Disney, The Little Mermaid. Oh, and did I mention she's already performed in front of like 5,000 people? Well, together, this dynamic father duo has taken the internet by storm, amassing close to 1 million followers and going viral with their breathtaking harmonies and undeniable chemistry. Today, we're going to dive into their journey, their music, and what it's like to share the spotlight as a family. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Hey.
Hi.
How you doing?
So excited to have you both on. Lana, you are so talented and so beautiful. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Dad, you
Yeah.
are incredible at really getting her to where she's been. And music has this incredible ability to connect people. But when that connection is between a father and daughter, it becomes something even more powerful. I mean, it's one thing to sing together for fun, but it's another to build a career together, share the stage, and watch each other grow through music. I know on your social media, you do a lot of that together. And of course, a lot of the spotlight is on Lana. But I want to start with you right now. Menno, when did you first realize that Lana wasn't just singing along, but that she actually had real undeniable talent?
Yeah, so she basically started singing from a very young age, like 2 or 3 years old. And when she was around 5, I could already hear her sing stuff which was basically impossible. So I gave her a teacher, and she learned for about 1.5 years. And then after those 1.5 years of like singing coaching, it was just undeniable. Her voice was just like 5, 6, 7 years older than her age. So I started recording stuff in the studio, and everybody was just blown away by her voice. So from that moment on, I just took it serious. I got another singing coach who was really, big here. And yeah, she joined The Voice, and then one thing after the other happened, and it's just very naturally, but yeah, very exciting.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
such a special moment, right? In that moment when you as a dad recognized that kind of talent in your own child. And then I love that it started so organically. I mean, you just kind of heard it, you kept
Yeah.
pushing. Lana, from your side, my dear, what is it like singing on the internet with your dad? Do you ever feel like he's more of a teacher, or is it just fun all the time?
No, it's really fun because I don't have to sing alone. The music is like bigger, more voice power, and together we can sing together, and that's just fun.
I love that you see it as both fun and a learning experience. It must be amazing to have your dad as both a mentor and a singing partner, right? Now
Yeah.
let's talk about going viral and handling fame at 9 years old. Okay. So the internet has completely changed the way musicians are discovered. A single post can go viral overnight, as you know, and suddenly millions of people are watching. But that kind of attention, especially at such a young age, can be overwhelming. What is it like the first time? What was it like, Lana, that first time one of your videos blew up? Did you realize what was happening?
I didn't realize that what was happening. I first thought of my dad it was a prank, but then I really saw it going up and up every day, and I was so shocked. And I was actually very shocked when Pink liked my video. I was like, oh my gosh, my mom is her favorite fan, and I am, and I love her. She's just
This is unbelievable. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not only Pink, it's Demi Lovato. She sang a song by Lawrence Smith, and she commented on her by herself. It's incredible. It's ridiculous.
Wow. So, Menno, as a dad, how do you balance supporting Lana's dreams but still making sure she gets to be a kid?
Yeah. So this is a very, very important topic. So basically, what I try to do is do most of it by myself. So I'm on top of everything, So like the whole social media, I do it. So she doesn't get annoyed or by anything, or she doesn't have to do anything by herself. So basically what we do, you just record the videos. It takes her around 20, 30 minutes, and she can play. And I'll do the rest. The good stuff about it is that Lana is not really like into fame. She just likes singing. So she's very grounded in a way. I saw this already when she was on The Voice. So she really liked it. She was very natural, and for her it was just all fun, and she was not busy with being famous or anything. So I think it's a character thing also that helps. So she's not really very, ooh, I'm famous.
Yeah.
That was never the case. So yeah.
I love that perspective. It's important to find that balance, and the industry can move fast, but it's amazing to hear that her happiness and her well-being always comes first, and that she's doing this truly from passion. Now let's talk about the most important thing, the Disney dream and singing for Ariel. I mean, that's, come on, it doesn't get bigger and better than that, especially as a 9-year-old. So let's talk about exactly that. Every little girl dreams of being a Disney princess, but very few actually get to become one. Lana, you didn't just get to sing Ariel songs, you became the voice of Ariel in Germany. That's a huge deal. What was that experience like? And did you feel like you were stepping into a fairy tale?
I really liked it because since I was like a little kid, like 4 or something, I really loved Disney and I always watched Ariel. Ariel was my favorite princess. I always wanted to be her, and now my dream just came true, and I was like, no, this can't be right. They picked the wrong person. And I was like, no, that's not me. My name is Lena. And then it was super fun also because in this big studio, it was like giant as this.
Yeah, it was a huge studio. Yeah.
And there was a wall, and this on the Kopfhörer auf Englisch.
Yeah, headphones.
The headphones, I could hear myself, and it was so cool. And there was a big screen, and I could just watch the
movie and you could sing it, huh?
Yeah. And that was so fun.
Yeah,
That's absolutely magical.
Not only that, she had also like intense promotional gigs and everything. Like she sang for the whole Disney enterprise, basically.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. And to do all of that at just 9 years old, it's so inspiring. Now,
Yeah.
Menno, as a musician, what was it like watching your daughter step into such an iconic role?
It's unbelievable. It's I still cannot process it like every day. Like if I see, because it's not only like everything like just came so fast. So basically she joined the Voice Kids. She wanted to do this from the age 7. At age 7 we said, okay, you're a little bit too young. Then she did it with 8 and we're like, okay.
No, it was other. I wanted to do it when I was 5.
Yeah.
And then I asked every year, every month.
Yeah.
And then my mom was like, oh my gosh, it's fine, you can go. But if you don't win, don't be sad. And I was like, okay, fine. And then I asked every month, like, Mom, can I go to the Voice Kids? 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 And then one time she was so stressed on me, she was like,
yeah. So, and then she joined, and then she reached the final, and then Disney came. So it was during the Voice Kids, during the finals preparations, and then she came to us, through the Voice. So I think that they already there was a scout at the Voice, and they saw her, and they were blown away, and she wanted to work with us. So everything
perfectly aligned.
No, but it was just so much at once,
Yeah.
And if, like as a musician, as a, a singer and a writer, I was like, what is happening? This is too much at once. So it was like,
when it's meant to be, it's meant to be, right? Yeah.
Great.
Such a beautiful full circle moment. Music has always been your passion, and now you get to watch Lana live out her dreams too. So let's chat. What's next for the two of you? With everything you've already accomplished, viral videos, massive streaming numbers, live performances, and Disney, it's hard to believe that this is just the beginning. So what's next for both of you? Any new exciting music or exciting projects coming up?
Yeah, so basically what we're doing right now, I'm writing several songs because everybody's begging online for their own songs. And I was like, who wants to listen to a single of a 9-year-old? But I was already, because of that other thing, like what happened when she was 7, but that was more of a dance song basically. So yeah, but everybody's like writing, okay, she has to have her own song. So I'm writing songs at the moment. Like I already have like 8 or 9 songs. So so that we're doing that, and then there is another international big thing which I cannot talk about yet.
That sounds amazing. I've no doubt that whatever you both do next will be just as magical as everything you've already done. Lana, do you have a dream? Yeah. Lana, do you have a dream collaboration or a big goal you're hoping to achieve next?
That I can sing with Adele or Rihanna, because I love them. They're so good in singing. I want to meet them and just sing with them.
Oh, so either Adele or Rihanna. That's what we have to manifest. Okay. I'm putting it out there. Adele, Rihanna, do you hear me? Do you hear us? This is 710 WOR, the tri-state area. Lana wants to collaborate with you. You know how to reach us at headquarters. Come on, girls. See what happens. That's such a great goal. And honestly, with everything you've already done, I have no doubt you'll make it happen. Now, I was told by my producer that you have prepared something special for us today.
Okay, she wants to sing something from Lady Gaga.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm of the deep end, watches I dive in. I'll never meet the ground. Crash on the surface where they can hurt us. We'll fall from the shallow now. In the shallow. In the shallow. In the shallow. We're far from the shallow now. And now the song from Rihanna. I love that song. All alone there was a fever, a cold sweat, a heart had a believer. I threw my hands in the air, said, show me something. He said, if you dare, come a little closer. Oh, round and around and around and around we go. Oh, now tell me now, tell me now, tell me now, you know. Not really sure how to feel about it. Something in the way you move makes me feel like I can't live without you. It takes me all the way. I want you to stay.
Wow, wow. Well, your story is inspiring. Your talent is undeniable. And the love you share for music and for each other shines through in everything you do. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so ecstatic that I had you on, and I can't wait to have you back for a follow-up.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
To everyone listening, if you haven't already, go check them out on social media at lana.melody.official and at Menno_REYNTJES, because trust me, you're going to want to follow their journey. And a huge thank you to Once Upon a Coconut for keeping us all hydrated with heart. Stay tuned for more right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. Kelly Williams is full of energy and incredible guests. Watch her anytime, free programming on Your Home TV network, and do follow her on social media for a chance to win monthly prizes. Check out The Kelly Williams Show on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Polished Beauty segment, where we break down the science behind beauty, wellness, and confidence. Today's conversation is one that will resonate with millions of women navigating a stage of life that's often misunderstood: perimenopause and menopause. Today we're chatting metabolism, menopause, and muscle, the science of aging gracefully. Now, we hear about the hot flashes, the mood swings, and the weight gain, but what's really happening inside our bodies? That's the question. More importantly, how can we take control of our metabolism, our body composition, and overall well-being during this particular phase? Joining us to break down the science behind muscle retention, fat loss, and the hormonal shifts that impact our bodies during menopause and perimenopause is a true expert in the field, Dr. Bill Campbell. He's a professor and director of the Performance and Physique Enhancement Laboratory at the University of South Florida. He spent decades researching how we can optimize our body composition through evidence-based nutrition and exercise. His work focuses on high-protein diets, diet breaks, and muscle-building strategies, particularly in women going through hormonal changes. And of course, I'm joined by my brilliant contributor for this segment, Dr. Daisy Ayim. She's a triple board certified cosmetic surgeon and OBGYN and founder of the Polished Beauty podcast. She brings a wealth of knowledge on women's health, aesthetics, and wellness, making her the perfect co-contributor for today's discussion. Welcoming now to the show are Dr. Bill and Dr. Daisy. Thanks for joining me, superstars.
Well, thank you. And Dr. Campbell, I can't wait to hear your brilliant contribution to this topic.
Yeah, I'm very more passionate than I've been about anything in my career to go into this space. So I'm ready to go.
Wow, that's a huge endorsement. So let's chat. Let's dive right in. The impact of menopause on metabolism. It's no secret that menopause brings unwanted weight gain, particularly around the midsection. And according to research, women can gain an average of 5 to 8% of their body weight during menopause, maybe even more, due to hormonal changes and a natural decline in muscle mass. But what's frustrating is that many women feel like they're doing everything right, eating well, exercising, and just still struggling to see results. Now, Dr. Bill, you've studied this extensively. What exactly is happening to a woman's body during menopause, and why does fat seem to shift so dramatically to the abdominal area?
Yeah, so two things are happening. One is hormonal. So two hormones that are really at play here. Estrogen, estradiol, starts to go down in about 2 years. I like to refer to a menopause transition, which is about a 4-year period going from pre to post menopause. So during these 4 years, what we have is estrogen levels going down and FSH, follicle stimulating hormone levels, going up. So that's what's going on hormonally. And then along with that, two body composition changes that are highly relevant. One, for the first time in a female's life, she starts to lose muscle tissue. Up until this point, she's gaining a little bit of muscle tissue each year. So there's one big change. And then the other change is there's an inflection point of gaining body fat around this menopause transition as well. And women are gaining some body fat going into 30s, 40s, but during this menopause transition, there's an inflection point where the rate of body fat gain starts to really increase. And the news gets a little bit worse. The gain in body fat is not uniformly distributed, as you mentioned. We actually have a redistribution of fat where they're gaining more fat in the abdominal region, more so than in the lower body.
Ugh. Ugh.
Heavy.
But it's validating to hear. And I think a lot of women assume they're failing at weight management, but really it's their physiology changing. And the fact that muscle retention plays such a key role is also a game changer.
Yeah, that's actually well documented, like you mentioned. And a lot of women struggle during that time. Professor, do you have any specific types of training resistant exercise that you recommend for women going through this period of time?
The best thing one can do is resistance train. It provides an anabolic stimulus to the body. So what I recommend is to lift with relatively heavy weights. And let me just explain. I use something called the pink dumbbell example. I'm shaming pink dumbbells, by the way, so be prepared. If you pick up a weight or you go to lift a weight and you can lift it more than 20 times, that weight is too light. So the most important thing that you do when you're lifting weights is to choose a weight with the appropriate amount of effort and that weight is relatively heavy. So I recommend that most of your lifting sets, you choose a weight that you can lift between approximately 6 and 12 times. Now, sometimes you'll choose weights that are heavier, particularly if you're able to squat and deadlift and bench press. Sometimes you'll choose weights that allow you to do more than 12 repetitions. But the sweet spot is choosing weights that you can do between 6 and 12 times, and you can't do it more than that. So lifting with relatively heavy weights to where you really can't do another repetition or two is the fundamental resistance training principles that I like to educate people on.
That's good. I mean, I totally agree with that, because women generally tend to be concerned that lifting heavy weights, they'll get bulky. And I think it's always good, at least I reassure them that, no, you have to try really hard to look like Miss Olympia. So I'm glad you,
Yes.
I'm glad you reiterate that. Professor,
Yeah.
you're such a big advocate on creatine supplementation, especially for women, which I think is wonderful. Can you explain how creatine benefits menopausal women specifically?
Yeah, so there's one area we know its benefits on muscle building. So that's documented across the lifespan, young males and females. But specifically to females, one of the unfortunate attributes of going through menopause is a significant increased risk for osteoporosis. And scientists will typically measure two areas. They'll look at the low back, so the low spine, and the hip region. And we have several studies in women going through menopause that creatine supplementation is able to help preserve bone mineral density in the hip, specifically the femoral neck, so just this big bone in your hip. They're still losing bone mineral density, but they're losing significantly less when they're supplementing with creatine. So creatine has muscle benefits, and specific to this phase of life, it also helps preserve bone mineral density, which is exactly what we need.
Okay, that makes so much sense, and it fits perfect with my next question because I want to talk about protein and menopausal women, right? So protein is often seen as a bodybuilder's nutrient, but the truth is it's one of the most critical macronutrients for women over 40, and even the studies suggest that menopausal women, even perimenopausal women, actually need more protein than younger adults to support muscle maintenance and recovery. Now, in your research, what have you found to be the optimal protein intake for menopausal? But I actually want to also address the perimenopausal women trying to maintain or even just improve body composition.
Yeah, so I refer to protein as the menopause nutrient. Why do I do that? Well, three main reasons. One, we already discussed. For the first time, women are starting to lose muscle. What does protein do? It builds muscle. The second reason is because we know that most women do not consume enough protein. Now, that's generally true across the life stage, but particularly during menopause, women get about half of what they need. So it helps build muscle. We know they're not getting enough. Enough protein in their diet. And the third reason is it also helps reduce body fat. Now, this is only true if you're previously deficient or not eating enough protein and you take it to optimal levels. So this gaining of body fat can actually be addressed when you optimize protein.
So, piggybacking off that, diet breaks and metabolic adaptation, because it kind of goes hand in glove with what you're saying, right? A lot of women go into these extreme calorie restriction um, when they start gaining weight, but only to hit like this plateau and feel even more frustrated. So, your research on diet breaks challenges the idea that constant restriction is the best way to lose weight. Can you explain how structured diet breaks can actually help menopausal women with long-term fat loss without wrecking their metabolism?
Yeah, so just to be clear, my research on diet breaks was always in younger people, but I don't think that changes the principles of applying that research to a midlife woman. So the one thing about dieting, it is a catabolic process. So everything about a diet is breaking down, which is good for body fat, but this catabolic environment is not good for muscle mass. So when we take a diet break, what we're doing is saying, hey, stop dieting for a period of time. Typically it's 7 to 14 days. And what we're doing is a couple things. We're bringing the body out of a catabolic environment and now into a potentially anabolic environment. Because we're going back to pre-dieting maintenance calories, we don't have to be concerned about gaining body fat when we take a diet break, but it really allows the body to recover. And then when we go back to dieting, we have more motivation and will respond better. So my research specifically has reported that diet breaks, or some people call them refeeds, they help with hunger, the psychology of hunger. So they don't have as high of a drive to eat when they incorporate these. And we've been able to maintain muscle mass and metabolic rate from being suppressed or getting lowered during these very long-term consistent diets.
Wow. So giving the body these breaks can actually help prevent metabolic slowdowns. That's a total mindset shift. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Aside from protein and creatine, are there any other supplements that menopausal women should consider for fat loss, muscle maintenance, overall health? Supplementation is a big deal. So do you have any others?
Yeah, I think fish oil would be one, unless somebody's naturally eating a lot of fish. So that just helps optimize omega-3 levels. I also recommend multivitamin, multi-mineral supplement. Other than those two things, I don't really. And again, I spent my whole career studying dietary supplements relative to building muscle and losing fat. I don't have a lengthy list of things that are going to move the needle as much as creatine and protein. So those are the heavy hitters, so to speak.
I like that you touch on that because I call it a supplement culture. It's huge. So you have women taking 10, 15 tablets a day. And yes, there's some discussion about it, which is important, but I'm glad you really just focus to the core ones, because I think you can get caught up and end up taking so many pills that you really don't see the benefit.
Yeah, and I just thinking of my wife, she's talking like she's been in exactly that. Like she says, I can't stand taking all these different pills. So we definitely, because we see different physicians and everybody has their own recommendations. But exactly to what you said, it can be overwhelming every day taking all of these pills. So I've heard it in my own home.
Yeah. Now, hormones, I want to just touch on hormones and body composition. We've been talking about it, but just being mindful of the time. We have a couple of minutes left. Hormones play a massive role in where and how we store fat. Estrogen in particular has been shown to influence fat distribution, muscle mass, and even appetite regulation. Now, with estrogen levels dropping during perimenopause and menopause, how does this shift impact body composition? And is there anything women can do to work with these changes instead of fighting against them?
So I'm still doing a lot of reading about what happens internally as to why this shift occurs. One of the things that may happen, I believe I read a study in rodent models, we actually have a change in estrogen receptor density to the abdominal region. So that would make sense. But again, I'm still early in this research. And in terms of what women can do, regardless if you're gaining weight or not, what we know is happening is your estrogen levels are declining. So to this, I would say you should at least consider estrogen therapy. Now, I'm not saying you have to go on it. That is a decision between the patient and her evidence-based physician. But what I found is a lot of women just completely just say no, and they don't really have a good reason as to why they're saying no. And I struggled with this too. My wife went through menopause and had a very difficult time. And this was before I was devoting my career, my research to this area. I was very ignorant and had to do a lot of education. And one of the major things that I've learned, I wish we would have started my wife on hormone replacement therapy sooner. Now, again, that was our decision. I did all the scientific reading. We consulted with physicians. But I think what my general response is, if you're going to choose not to go on HRT, just have a reason as to why. Don't be fearful of it without having the appropriate conversations with your physician.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think a lot of women are misinformed. They hear HRT causes cancer. They hear all kinds of stuff that's just misinformed. And I think it really begins with speaking to a practitioner and to a physician that can really properly guide you. Experts like yourselves are not easily found. So I'm glad that we can blanket the voice here further than just your local practices. Dr. Daisy, I know you have some questions on the future of women's fitness.
Yes, Dr. Campbell. What are some emerging trends of fitness and nutrition research that excites you, and specifically around this time? Do you care to share with us?
Oh, I would love to. So right now, my research team and I, we're about to make this go live. It's actually the first menopause fitness survey. So when we sat down, I realized that, hey, I want to start getting some information. Thousands of studies on menopause. We even have quite a few studies now in women's fitness. But if you try to find a survey where you're merging women who've embraced a fitness lifestyle that are going through menopause, you won't find one published survey because it doesn't exist. So effectively, my lab is doing the first menopause fitness survey. So you have to be eligible for this, you have to be lifting weights, I think we said, for the previous 6 months. And we try to make this very open, such that anywhere from 35 to 75 years old, because we're going to get data on women as they perceive what will happen when they do go through menopause. Then we have this perimenopause group, like what's happening right now when you're going through it. And then we're getting reflections of women who are postmenopausal. What things did you experience when you were going through this? And we have a nutrition section and a very comprehensive fitness section, resistance training, cardio, and a hormone replacement therapy section. And then finally, a weight loss or body composition section. So that's what our survey is going to cover.
What? Sign me up.
I was going to say, Dr. Daisy, you are the perfect demographic for this.
Yes, I have some clientele here that will be gladly part of this, Dr. Campbell. So let me know how I can be of help.
If you could spread the word, that would be great. Like I said, I've been doing research for 20 years, and the shift to take my skill set into this menopause transition population has given me so much new energy and excitement.
Wow. Well, we are officially out of time. This conversation could go on for another 30 minutes easily, and we can still keep chatting, as if we just started. So I thank you so much for coming on. It was really, really It was refreshing to see a male's perspective with such passion. So I thank you for coming on. Not only have you done the research, not only are you advocating for this particular community, but you're also making strides, and you're changing the narrative, which I love. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And really, we should thank my wife, because her experience is what opened my eyes. So unfortunately, it wasn't a good experience, but
thank you, Mrs. Campbell. Big shout out to Mrs. Campbell. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Campbell.
Thank you both.
For anyone who wants to dive deeper into Dr. Campbell's research, you can follow him on Instagram at Bill Campbell PhD, and you can check out His Body by Science Research Review at billcampbellphd.com. And of course, our amazing contributor, Dr. Daisy Ayim. Thank you always for lending your expertise. You can follow Dr. Daisy on Instagram at Dr. Daisy Ayim and tune into her podcast, the Polished Beauty Podcast, for more insights. You could head to the polishedbeautypodcast.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this. A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Polished Beauty Podcast with Dr. Daisy Ayim. Hey, ambitious women, ready to shine on the inside and out? Tune in to the Polished Beauty Podcast, where we talk about business, beauty, brains, and body all in one spot. Meet Dr. Daisy Ayim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon, pro-aging advocate, fitness enthusiast, and your go-to for real talk on leveling up every part of your life. The Polished Beauty Podcast is your dose of ambition meets empowerment. For more information, head to polishedbeautypodcast.com. Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in the Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift in our Expert on the Microphone series. Today, we're joined by board-certified plastic surgeon, Dr. Ivana Percek. She is the Associate Director of Cosmetic Surgery and Assistant Professor of Surgery at Penn Medicine. Her love of science, art, and working with her hands naturally dovetailed into a career in plastic surgery, sculpting people's faces and bodies, where she has excelled for over a decade. She joins me today to discuss how she is transforming people's lives from aesthetic facial procedures to reconstructing survivors of female genital mutilation. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Dr. Ivana Percek. Welcome, superstar.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here.
So excited to have you. You have quite the impressive resume, but before we dive in, let's look back to the beginning. I know you rotated through various medical specialties, but ultimately landed on plastic surgery and have been quoted saying finding plastic surgery was like coming home. And a facial surgery was one of the first operations you ever witnessed, an experience that really stuck with you. What initially drew you to the plastic surgery field, and how do you see aesthetic procedures ultimately transforming lives?
Great question. You're right. It was like coming home. And in fact, I come from a long line of scientists and artists in my family and academicians. And what I loved growing up was all of those things: science, art, aesthetics, fashion. And when I found medicine and the art of healing, all of those really put together defines plastic surgery. So you're looking at patients from a very holistic standpoint. You're looking at the outside, you're treating the outside and the inside. You're being artistic, meticulous, creative, and scientific.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people view aesthetic surgery as fairly superficial. So I love that you highlight how it doesn't just change how you look, but also changes how you feel. And I know you've even talked about how aesthetic surgery has the ability to lower inflammation in the body, because if you feel good about how you look, it decreases your cortisol levels, which ultimately alters the rest of your anatomy and decreases the inflammatory process, which is just fascinating because it's just a domino effect, right? Now, for patients seeking plastic surgery procedures, only half the battle is the procedure, but the other half is recovering. And while recovery isn't necessarily easy, there are things providers can do to make it easier, if you will. And one of my favorites is CO2 Lift, which is non-invasive, clinically proven, and medical grade carboxy gel that, I mean, not only offers the monotherapy benefits, but can significantly improve a patient's results and comfort post-procedure. I'd love to know, doctor, how do you help your patients in the recovery process with products like CO2 Lift? And have you noticed measurable differences in recovery times or outcomes when patients implement these treatments post-procedure?
Absolutely. I think what we've learned is preparation of the patient before surgery and after the surgery is critical. And CO2 Lift to me has been an amazingly powerful approach to do that. It's easily tolerated. You put a mask on a couple of days before the procedure in the area that you're going to treat. And then you do the same immediately after the procedure and for a week or more afterwards. And it transforms people's tissues in a very simple way. And it's subtle, but very, very powerful. And it's tolerated by everybody. And I think what we've come to learn is that you really have to think and be purposeful in preparing your mind and your body for the surgery. And that way you will have the maximum outcome.
I love that you said prepare your mind and your body. It's so important because it's just so connected, and it's like it's true. Mind over matter essentially that's a perfect example. Now, you're also very well known for your work with survivors of female genital mutilation, also known as FGM, which defined by the World Health Organization comprises all procedures that involve partial or total removal of the external female genitalia or other injury to the female genital organs for non-medical reasons. And more than 230 million girls and women today have undergone female genital mutilation in 30 countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, where FGM is practiced. Now, I know your first genital mutilation patient came to you through a referral from a gynecologist, and no other surgeon would agree to take on the case. However, you, my dear, stepped up and actually created a new reconstructive procedure that has now helped numerous women increase sexual function and ultimately heal the emotional and psychological wounds associated with mutilation. Can you please tell us more about this FGM reconstructive surgery and why female health and wellness is so important to you as a whole?
Everything drove me, the misunderstanding, undertreatment of women, the fact that women were ashamed and shouldn't be for having gone this procedure, just like they might be ashamed of having a facelift, but this even more so because they didn't select to have this. They were traumatized, they were victims. And so the women who come to see me are trying to empower themselves, to take that power back. And so it was a challenge. I saw it as my duty, as kind of the universe coming to me with the opportunity to create a meaningful change, something for good for a population of women who had suffered their entire lives with not just functional deficits like pain, but also with psychological deficits like trauma, depression, anxiety, all the other things that come along with that.
Wow. I mean, the work you're doing is so invaluable, and I'm so glad you took this on. You know, patients really are suffering all over the world, and you're very, very proactive. It really sets you on a path that not only added another avenue to your career, but also gives you such a meaningful purpose. It's so beautiful. Good job. Good job. I love what you're doing. Now, what are some of the most common vaginal surgeries you perform, and what concerns do women typically have when seeking these procedures? I know it's not an easy leap for, for any decision. It's not easy for anyone to make.
No, absolutely. And it's a hard topic to talk about, which I think is why people come to me, because I'm very open and I'm very comfortable speaking about it. So I see a lot of women, both young and old, who come in for labiaplasty, which is mostly just a rejuvenation or a trimming of the inner lips of the vaginal region, or a clitoroplasty, which is a lifting or an exposure of the clitoris to make it function better and look better. We're all very sensitive to the face, the breasts, for example, and other parts of the body, but the vaginal region or the vulvar region is the last frontier. And I think we finally started to conquer it, both through the FGM work and that coming to light and women being able to take their power back and speak about it, but also just for things that are maybe not functional. And a labiaplasty can be functional in the sense that it could impair a woman from doing the exercises that she likes, from enjoying intimate moments in the way that she likes. And so it affects all of those components, and we can improve on all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, great points. And I know CO2 Lift also has that vaginal rejuvenation gel product, CO2 Lift V. In your experience, what role do non-invasive treatments like the CO2 Lift V play in recovery and overall vaginal health?
They play a huge role in the recovery, especially as we're going through a phase where we're starting to talk about and be open about the menopausal changes and perimenopausal and premenopausal changes that women are undergoing. So the CO2V has been instrumental in helping women who are even non-surgical actually have a more robust sexual experience, less dryness, more comfort in those regions. But especially if they're undergoing surgery, the V-lift is really helpful with cutting down inflammation, bringing blood flow to the region, and allowing those women to heal a lot faster in an area that's normally very sensitive and can be traumatized with more invasive techniques.
So many great use cases this product has. I love it. And it's so simple, and it's backed by science and clinically researched and verified. It's even been compared to a hyperbaric oxygen chamber by some of the top plastic surgeons. So I love this feedback. Now, in addition to your work in surgery, you also run the Percheck Anti-Aging Lab, which you founded in 2010 to study how stem cells from fat tissue impact the aging process at various stages, as well as how those cells impact scar tissue formation and face and body rejuvenation. I think this is so important as younger generations are focusing more and more on preventative skincare, with many adopting proactive routines and seeking out specialized care early on before these problems arise. And with your research, you can work on delaying the aging process by intervening at the cellular level. How do you see the role of stem cells and regenerative medicine and natural anti-aging products like CO2 Lift shaping the future of plastic surgery and aesthetic treatments?
We're already seeing a lot of those functions coming to force in the patient treatment arena. For example, you might not be able to use stem cells directly. We use them indirectly a little bit in fat grafting. We know that when you transfer fat, it contains a high proportion of adipose stem cells. And so what happens is over the course of time, those stem cells help to rejuvenate the regions that you place them in. And I use that for all of my labiaplasty and my FGM reconstructions, my facelifts, for example. But something like exosomes, those are all coming to become very popular. And exosomes derived from stem cells contain very powerful nutrients that can be delivered either by injection or topically. And so the stem cells are really our reservoir of a new youthful molecules that have not undergone the aging process that non-stem cells have.
Wow, you're full of knowledge. I love this. This is all so fascinating to me, and I love that this generation is about preventative medicine and really studying the science. Recently, we had a researcher here, Dr. Serenia Wiles from the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, and she's saying exactly what you're saying, that exosomes, regenerative medicine, being at the forefront of these new, researched, verified, and still, ongoing research, of course, needs to be done even deeper. But you're right, this is the new era, and it's no longer about overfilled lips or that overdone pillow face look. People are just opting for more natural, even with their breast augmentations, that they just want a more natural look or just a natural lift, right? So yeah, it's the industry is definitely changing.
And I think the biggest challenge we face, and I faced the challenge myself when I was running my lab and trying to get grants from the NIH, for example. No institution wants to fund something that they consider elective or superficial. And yet all of the patients, all of the people in this country and all over the world are using these treatments. So it's our duty as physicians, as scientists, to look at the effects of these treatments, to whether they're effective. Are they safe? How can we use them in the best way possible? And that's what we're doing with carboxylift, with exosomes, with stem cells. We have to do that kind of research. But it's really now the companies and private sources that are funding the research. And we have to move forward because the public wants that information.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you said that, and I'm so glad we had you on. I love our experts on the microphone, and you fit the check. You fit the every single check mark perfectly. Thank you so much for shedding so much light and information. That was our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift, and that was the incredible board-certified plastic surgeon, Dr. Ivana Percheck. Definitely head to penmedicine.org to learn more about her and her life-changing services. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is sponsored by FinTech TV.
FinTech TV, the newest streaming channel focused exclusively on the business of blockchain, digital assets, and sustainability. Broadcasting from our studio on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with daily reports from NASDAQ, global expansion, and 24/7 coverage. Become part of the launch. Head to fintech.tv/invest. Fintech.tv/invest.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
So, John, happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. We have a lot going on, but I do want to focus on debanking when it comes to crypto and digital assets. So do you think the distancing over concerns about bank safety, money laundering, as well as financial risks isn't just a reflection of a disdain for crypto overall?
So, yeah, I mean, look, this is actually kind of fascinating. What we've seen since even the last time I was on the show is an extraordinary turn. So this concept of debanking went from something that was relatively unknown to wider audiences, but well known within the industry. And then Mark Andreessen goes on Joe Rogan. It becomes kind of popular knowledge. Then there's a short period of, hey, maybe this isn't real. There's some pushback. And then we go from that within the space of 10 to 12 days to the comments you mentioned from FDIC Chair Travis Hill. I'll point out Jerome Powell also on January 31st acknowledged that there's no role for debanking. And then we had Cynthia Lummis, who is the chair of the new Senate panel on digital assets, go so far as to say that anyone at the FDIC who gets rid of evidence around debanking will face prosecution. So that's a really dramatic shift in tone and messaging and narrative in the space of 2 weeks. So I think that the argument that this is a hallucination or something that didn't exist, never existed, that's pretty much been completely debunked. And now it comes to, well, exactly what happened, how severe was it, and to what degree should there be accountability and consequences for those individuals who committed it.
And I'm glad you brought that up because there are a lot of expectations as we head into 2025 regarding the regulatory landscape. But on this Monday morning, I do want to take a look at where we are in terms of crypto prices as well as the strategic Bitcoin reserve. So for crypto majors, Bitcoin and ETH, we are looking at a pullback this morning. But in terms of a reserve, several U.S. states, including Alabama, Arizona, Florida, launching initiatives for Bitcoin strategic reserves. And Arizona and Utah are also advancing in the process. Now, President Trump did order the creation of a digital asset working group, and they're tasked with exploring a U.S. crypto stockpile, but the order doesn't provide further details. So what do you expect to see when it comes to reserve in the coming months here in the U.S.?
So I expect to see a growing clarification of what that means effectively. So I think there's some people in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency world that were a little bit disappointed at the less than specific language regarding a Bitcoin strategic reserve and also how that Bitcoin would actually be accumulated and whether it would just be existing stockpiles not sold or new assets accumulated. So I think perhaps that was a little bit too much to hope for in the first week. But what we have is serious momentum, not just at the state level, but also at the federal level. There is, again, Cynthia Lummis is leading this charge and leading the effort to examine how a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which, again, many people believe will fundamentally strengthen monetary policy, improve the overall balance sheet of the U.S. government, will be a decidedly good thing for the country as well as for Bitcoin holders. And that sort of will be clarified over the coming weeks. I think what's important to note is that as that clarification ensues, the rest of the world is going to be watching extremely closely. No one wants to be front run on a U.S. mass purchase of a finite scarce asset like Bitcoin. So I think you'll see a little bit of brinksmanship as countries recognize if the U.S. does commit to this as policy, they have to be at least on time with the U.S., if not ideally before, in terms of making those acquisitions. So everyone will be watching it very closely at both the state, federal, and international level.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Are you looking to build a new home? Think about building a barn-dominium. There's just something about getting away from it all. Country living, fresh air, and outdoor entertainment. Watch luxury barn-dominium tours on Your Home TV and let Stacy Lynn, the barn-dominium lady, take you on a journey through her barn-dominium designs.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
We are at the end of our date, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and of course, all of our episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on Your Home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide streaming platform. That's free programming to you. You could head directly to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be back next week.